This camera's going to start with me. We'll see.
And good evening, and welcome again to Thinking Green. And I am Janice Janostak. I'm once again sitting in the host chair for Rana Stoller. Rana is on vacation this week and next, so I'll be sitting in for her. And tonight we have some very special guests. I have a gentleman that you've seen on the show before, because I'm presuming you've been watching the show faithfully. Mark Roberts. He is chairman of the TC Gallery in New London on State Street, and also a board member of the Fiddlehead Foods Co-op.
Yep.
And his lovely wife, and not to be sexist, so go husband-wife first, just natural training, Leslie Karen Hammond. Yes. And you are owner and principal of Destiny's Door. And welcome to the show, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the show was inspired by the time you and I were on the show in January, and you mentioned something very interesting about your diabetes on that show. We were talking about fiddleheads and natural foods and how you had found food very helpful with your condition. Mark, can you tell us just a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was a nutritionist I go to, Dr. Hollister, who told me I could get rid of my meds if I ate correctly, which I'm very traditional eating kind of a person. So I go into the bulk section and just keep walking, you know.
Yeah, right.
Like, what's this stuff?
Traditional as in steak and potatoes guy?
Exactly.
Okay.
And yeah, so when Leslie and I were first married, she has all these jars of stuff from the bulk section. And it's like, what's this stuff? I don't even know what it is. And but what I was able to do is within about a 6-month window, 6 to 9 months, I switched my eating to eating much more balanced. Was the first thing she had me do. Well, first she had me just raise the quality of what I eat, which was a track I was already on.
Okay, and that meant what exactly?
That meant eating more organic, or eating exclusively organic foods. If you eat meats, eat very high quality meats, free range if you can, but the best meats you can find, etc. But just go for very high quality. Okay. And then the second thing she had me do was to balance everything, so that at every time I sat down to eat, I would eat a blend of protein, carbs, and fats, but good fats rather than meat fats, animal fats. So I go for very lean.
Right.
But good fats, meaning like coconut butter is an excellent fat, or coconut oil. And when they're balanced at each meal, the meal doesn't spike my blood sugar the way it normally would. So it just, but you have to have the three together. And the three then instead gives you little ripples in your blood sugar over a period of 3 to 4 hours, which is much easier for your body to handle.
Right.
And within something like 6 or 9 months, I was able to completely eliminate one of my medications. I was then able to cut the second oral medication I took in half, and I was able to drop, I had one medicine that was injectable. I was able to drop that from twice a day to once every other day.
So since I don't know a lot about diabetes, so you were able to drop these things based upon, you go to the doctor, you get your regular blood tests or whatever, and they're saying, oh, your insulin level is stabilized, or based upon what? What were these meds supposedly doing for you in the first place?
Anybody who has diabetes monitors their blood sugar periodically. And so you just look at what your glucose level is. And if it's within normal bounds, you're doing fine.
Right.
So you look before you eat, after you eat. And so what I found was I could reduce my medications because of the way I was eating and still keep my blood sugar in normal, healthy bounds.
Okay.
And it's a little band, like 100 to 130.
Right.
And in fact, I would typically, my rising blood sugar would be under 100, which is very good.
Really? And how long, when were you diagnosed, or how long have you been treating your diabetes?
Oh, since '05.
Okay.
I had a preliminary diagnosis like 20 years ago, but I just stopped eating excessive amounts of sugar, and that it was okay. It was under control. Right. But then it went nuts about 2004, 2005, and my blood sugar just zoomed like crazy.
Any explanation? Do they know why?
No.
Okay.
Now you got it now, kid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Now, what I'm wondering, I'm assuming you were also under a physician's care at the same time, concurrently with this. So you had a GP or somebody who.
Yes. An allopathic physician. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one who describes the prescription drugs.
Right. Exactly.
And he was sort of stunned.
Okay.
He was like, "Wow, this is really great." Wow.
Okay.
And I said, "My agenda is to get entirely off meds." And he said, "Well, you can't. If you keep eating like this."
Okay.
And I'd also lost weight, which was good. And so between the two, in fact, I've also been able to cut my hypertension drugs in half. So the dose is cut in half.
That's wonderful. And but you've got what we call a Western medicine doctor who's supportive of this.
Oh yeah, he was. He's one of the better ones. He's in Providence, but better meaning he actually pays attention to what I have to say.
I've had a doctor like that. I've had a couple of doctors like that. They're hard to find.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, "Shut up, kid. We know what's good for you."
Exactly.
And it's like, no, I want to know what this medication is going to do to me. I want to know what the side effects are.
Right.
And the nutritionist, Dr. Hollister, she was always on me to get your meds down, because these things over a long term are really going to wreak havoc with your internal organs. And the allopathic physician agrees. That's right. It's the less of two evils, as they say. So if I can control it entirely with diet, that's great.
Right.
Plus you feel better. And there's a funny side effect, which is, I don't know how to say this, healthier, good quality foods start tasting better and better.
Yes.
It's strange. I didn't see that coming.
Well, it's not really strange, is it? Once you start eating better things, then your body wants those things instead of the junk you used to be eating. I mean, that's just my personal
salads went from being, that's nice, salad, to, oh, this is really good.
So it sounds like, Mark, you had quite a team between your naturopath and Leslie on your side.
Yeah.
Leslie, since you were the one who introduced him to some of these things, how did you come to, first of all, are you a member of, I assume you're a member of the local co-op?
Yes, of course.
What's your story in terms of how you came to healthier eating, a better balanced diet?
Initially, some 25 years ago, when I became pregnant with my son, that was the time to be much more conscious of my eating. And, well, he was 10 pounds, 5 ounces, so what does that tell you about healthy eating?
Well, what were the resources, so 20-some years ago, so what were the resources that you were drawing from at the time, or what was the information? It was something you sought out, or something that kind of fell into your lap, so to speak?
It was probably a networking event of some kind that I might have gone to, and I've always loved having a garden. So just to be able to grow your own vegetables, there's nothing quite like going out in the morning and picking something and then consuming it immediately. Yes. It's like cracking a melon open and you hear this and it spits out. There's nothing quite like that. So it was a very gradual process, and I became much more conscious of what I consumed, and it really became paramount to how I feel. You really take note. You'd made mention before of how when you consume a better quality diet, that your body craves that. And sometimes I'll be craving dark green things. I love dark green things. And it makes you feel good. And of course our bodies tell us exactly what we need. Whether or not we pay attention to it is another story.
Exactly.
Sometimes we think we can pacify a particular craving for something with a substitute, but then that doesn't always work.
What's been, in all of this with, and we'll get to some of these lovely things we've got on the table in a moment, what was in all of that your biggest challenge, or what was the biggest hurdle to get over in making the transition? Was it fairly easy for you, or gradual?
It was very easy. And one of the first things I began to notice was when I ate processed foods, there would be an aftertaste in my mouth. and I have become hypersensitive to anything with chemicals. And sometimes when you go into a restaurant and you have something that you can't always guarantee where the food comes from and know the background of it, I can detect that aftertaste in my mouth, and I've known to to break out in hives if there's a really strong preservative in the food.
That probably makes going out to restaurants a little bit of a challenge. Period.
Sometimes you'd be more cautious. You go to places that you trust. And if you know that they purchase good quality product, or if you go to a restaurant that serves vegetarian food, then you have a better comfort level.
So you mentioned that you 20 years you started growing your own food. You still do?
I do. In fact, the best exposure for my garden is in the front yard. That's the southern. So I have 3 raised beds in the front yard.
Nice.
None of the neighbors seem to mind. So.
A lot better. Sounds a lot better than a lawn.
It is
to me.
Less to mow. Less to mow, indeed.
Wonderful. And do you now? This is kind of a subject near and dear to my heart, by the way, because I use nutrition to get myself off painkillers for lupus. So it's something that I definitely understand and appreciate, but it's something that it took a long time. Do you find that, do you think, your personal opinion, are a lot of Americans going this way, or is it kind of, we think people are, but it's still sort of a niche and there's a long way to go in terms of getting the word out?
Well, there's definitely a conscious shift in what people consume. If it's not because they're fed up with taking medications, or their copays are too high, or perhaps it's the way their children are being educated in schools. And so the kids might be coming home with new information. So there's so much information that's out there. And of course, with the internet, people are becoming much better at educating themselves and realizing that it can make a difference. And almost everyone knows someone who's made significant changes in their lives by what they choose to eat.
Mark, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to tell you, I didn't mention this earlier, but I also have psoriasis, and to my astounding surprise, when I controlled what I ate and got my carbohydrates down below 70 grams a day, it disappeared, which was like, that shocked everybody.
Really? Was it severe? Was it like a severe?
No, no, it's just moderate patches in places.
Okay.
And not even to the level where I'd need creams particularly or anything.
Right.
But, so I wasn't doing very much for it.
Right.
But thought I'd get big scaly patches on my legs and like that.
Right.
But I was astonished when, I mean, Dr. Hollister said this, you could expect to see it mitigate a bit, but it like disappeared. It was incredible. It was, it was about this big round, all of a sudden just like, just went away. It was like, wow. And all I had to do was get the carbohydrates under 70 grams a day, and that did it. Which is hard, by the way.
Well, let's think about it. Well, I mean, there's carbohydrate in vegetables.
Correct.
Right? So you've got carbohydrates and you've got grains, and grains are good for you, but there's that whole issue. In fact, Time Magazine, I think recently, was it Time or Newsweek, recently did a very interesting article about, I don't think I was supposed to mention an actual name of a magazine, sorry guys, about diet and food and nutrition and the fact that the USDA pyramid has it all wronged, having carbs at the base.
It's been wrong for years.
So what should be at the base of that pyramid, Leslie?
I'm not one to say. Everyone needs to be mindful of what they consume. And I would certainly recommend seeing a nutritionist. That can make a huge impact. And a lot of times people will think if they go to a nutritionist that this practitioner will tell them, oh, you can't have this and you can't have that. And so they're probably terrified, I mean, certainly intimidated.
Right.
But practitioners understand that it took a long time to develop these habits, and you can't just cut them out cold turkey. So it's a process, and as people become more accustomed, they get more comfortable and they see the benefit of it, and they make the change.
Yeah, in fact, that's what Holly said to me was, so what do you like to eat? And then we put our attention on what I enjoyed that was good, or how I could shift it a little bit if it was a problem. But and so I just shifted off carbs, or particularly off processed foods. I ate a lot of processed foods.
The packaged foods, the breads,
yeah. And so I pretty well eliminated that entirely. And so the 70 grams is mostly leafy things or maybe an apple, things of that sort. But went much more to just, as they say in the grocery store, you shop the edges.
Right.
You know, so where either frozen or fresh produce is, and not the middle packaged stuff in boxes.
No, but the bulk section too.
Yes.
Yes. Mark, one quick thing before I forget. You had mentioned that, as Dr. Hollister said, basically organic.
Oh, she's insistent about it.
Okay. What is that? There are some people who, now I know, for instance, we know that the price of organic food versus conventional has become very competitive lately. I've been in the grocery store the other day and thought, there's that much for conventional avocados, please. But if somebody doesn't have access to organic, they're not near a co-op, a food store, or budget reasons or whatever, is it possible to start on this path? Is it possible to change the diet before perhaps having full access to organic?
You can always wash your produce. I mean, that's the first thing you can do anyway.
Right. Well, you do that with organic as well, too.
That's right, but it'll help get some of the pesticides off the surface, particularly for leafy things that tend to attract them right on the surface. But of course, you can still switch to healthier foods. If you buy local foods, it's easier to get very good quality stuff anyway.
Right.
So get from the local farmers markets. There's virtually farmers markets everywhere.
Right, right. I know
they're not hard to find.
Right. I know that's still sort of an issue, though, for some people in urban areas. New London, actually, to my way of thinking, it really isn't urban. But I'm from Detroit, so. But we have fresh, we have community gardens, and so forth. Are there more people growing their own food in the cities? Are there more community gardens, Leslie?
Oh, certainly. Well, there are community gardens sprouting up all over the place, but you can also grow things in containers on decks. There are tomato upside down hanging things. I don't have one. I've seen them. So there are all kinds of vehicles that people can do, that they can use to grow vegetables. And if you have a southern exposure window or western exposure, you could grow something inside. You could sprout. That's a really terrific way to get very high quality, fresh food that's absolutely fabulous for you.
Plus, indoor hydroponics is picking up big now, or small scale hydroponics, I guess I should say.
Right.
And I know, like the city of Chicago, Major Carter has a huge project going there to try to feed the entire city fresh vegetables on 3 acres. She's got $750,000 of capital investment in hydroponics, large scale hydroponics.
Right.
But she believes she can feed all Chicago, all the neighborhoods, all from these 3 acres.
Really?
Then it's reclaimed land. It's all raised beds and stacked, stacked beds. But
and is that being repeated or copied in other
Detroit
places?
is looking at it.
Okay.
I talked to some people last week who were looking at similar things in Detroit, and so we've talked about doing that in London as well.
Right.
But we have so many farms nearby. The urgency isn't.
We're lucky in that way, but I know there's a lot of areas where there's not that sort of same access, and there's also issues with people not only having access, but also things like, is there a grocery store in the town? Again, we're lucky. We've got several grocery stores here. We've got, the local co-op. And we've got places to people to access it if they know to do so.
Right.
Well, it's just like anything else that you make up your mind to do.
Right.
You need to be determined, and you need to have support.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, determination, as anyone knows, whether it's deciding to take on a new hobby or to learn something new, you make up your mind to do it and you stick with it. Through the course of the process, you need support. So there ought to be somebody that you can call and ask a question of, or research on the internet, a local library, because a lot of people just starting off can be intimidated because they're not really sure what to do. I've been gardening for a long time, but there's still things that I'm always learning. Last year I had a problem with soil that I didn't see coming. Organic soil with mushroom compost, who would have thought? Yeah. So it's support is very important.
And I believe, Mark, you said to me that you and Leslie have been married for 7 months. Congratulations, you're still newlyweds. I was thinking, as you were talking, Leslie, about when you talked about support, another issue is that sometimes somebody who's starting on that on this path of better eating, one person may bring the idea into the household, and there are sometimes family members who are resistant.
Of course.
And then also, when you first met Mark, he was eating a completely different way. Was it sort of a subtle, hey, let's try this, or she just, she cooked you some things and...
She never pushed me. In fact, it was very funny. At first it was, oh, try this. I was like, wow, this is really good. What's in it? You don't want to know. You don't want to know. Then I'd find out, oh, God, you're right. I would have never eaten that if you told me what was in it.
I've pulled that trick with tofu pudding a couple of times, actually. You put the chocolate in it and mix it, and they don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Speaking of food, Leslie, you said earlier you like to play with food.
Oh, I do, very much so. It's an art form, if you will. And if you cook with reckless abandon, you have so much fun. Don't be so worried about what might happen. You put together flavors that you like, textures, color, and just have a ball. Pretend like you're a kindergartner with finger paint. Yes. And you can have so much fun. And if you come up with some terrific things, you come up with terrific things. If you don't, no big deal. You tried.
Are you the sort of person who writes yours down when you come up with a terrific thing, or?
No, he's always asking me, how much do I, because he'll want to duplicate something, so he'll say, all right, well, how much do I put in this? I'm like, I don't know, I don't write it down. Well, and he's a numbers guy, so he likes to write everything down, so he thinks we guess, and then I try and figure out how much went in it.
That's close enough.
So it's like, well, a scoop of this, and a shake of this, and a dash of this, but.
I don't feel so alone now, because I'm the same way in the kitchen, and my partner will ask me, hey, how'd you do this? I'm like, I don't know. Exactly.
Enjoy it, because you'll never get the
same thing again. Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of food, I'm looking at some really lovely things here. So I'm assuming, Leslie, you did a little magic for us.
I did.
Beforehand.
Well, one of the things that I absolutely love to work with is quinoa, and it's like the new rice, if you will. There's so many different things that you can do with it. There are a lot of different colors, if you will. And I brought a few jars to show.
Oh,
this is a black quinoa.
Okay. And let's see, can we get actually, let's bring up all the jars and talk about them. We can get a close-up on them. And these were from the bulk section at our beloved local co-op, I believe. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, here, let's get this.
This was one of the first things that Mark looked at and said, what is that? Why, it's quinoa. So this is the way that it looks when it is uncooked, and then once you cook it, it develops a little tail. Yes. And the thing I love about this is that...
Can we open it? Can you open? Yeah, keep talking and just open up the lid and kind of point at the camera. Or maybe don't open up the lid.
Wait a minute. I'm loosening it up. I put it in here hot and small.
And just to, there we go. Okay. All right. Can we tilt that up a little bit? It's very fluffy and very good.
Yeah, see the little tails.
And this is a combination of the red and the white, or all three colors?
This is only red.
Oh, okay.
This is only red.
Okay. Now, just quickie for our audience members who haven't tried quinoa, and if you haven't, why haven't you? This is something where you can get the bulk section of Fiddleheads, and it is, if I understand correctly, Leslie, it's not a grain, it's what they call a pseudo-cereal. It's the seed of a grass plant.
I believe so.
Native to South America, and one of our friends, Lori Gorham, came on the show a couple months ago and said you can even sprout it. Have you ever sprouted quinoa?
I've tried. It's challenging.
Okay.
Not successfully.
Not successfully, okay.
Yet.
Very good.
You might spell quinoa if anybody doesn't know it.
Quinoa, okay.
They'll never find it.
Q-U-I-N-O-A.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like quinoa.
Which is how I pronounced it for ages until I had a restaurateur friend who pronounced it. Oh, okay, that's how you say it. Now, Leslie, tell me a little bit about the quinoa, what you do with it, and the three different varieties. Are they different flavor, different nutritional value, or just?
I'm not sure about the nutritional value. The flavors are all very similar. I believe the black one is just a tad nuttier in flavor. The reason I enjoy using it is because I can put it on the stove and walk away. It's, if I have to cook something, that's my favorite way to do it. But it cooks in 15 minutes. So you bring the water to a boil. It's a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 cups of water to 1 cup of quinoa. You put a lid on it, put it on low to simmer, and then you walk away. You come back when there's no water left in the pan. It's done. So it works for a variety of things.
And do you have to salt it when you're cooking it?
You don't have to. I typically don't, because I don't always consume it as a side dish or a main dish, which you'll soon test in a moment in those little cups.
Okay.
But just as in rice, a lot of times people get into a habit of cooking something the same way, like with salt, for example. Well, another thing you could do is experiment with different kinds of vegetable broths, or if you like use chicken broth, or if you use beef broth, or you could put a vegetable in there, put a little bit of onion or something. So a lot of times people are so intimidated they don't really know what to do, so just play. If you feel like throwing something in there, just throw something in there and see what happens.
And what's your favorite way to eat it? My favorite, honestly, is plain or with an egg on it.
I've never had it with an egg.
Oh, breakfast. You have your warm quinoa, soft-boiled egg on top, salt, pepper, seaweed, a little sesame seed or ginger, and just break into it and let the yolk. It is. Actually, it's become my favorite breakfast. I used to eat rice in our house. We used to eat it all the time, and then I've tried quinoa, and it's almost right. It's almost replaced rice. Exactly. Exactly.
Well, a couple to answer your question.
Yes.
If I'm doing it as a side dish or as a meal, then I like to mix different vegetables in it. Sometimes chicken. I've never tried fish in it, but usually a little bit of protein of some kind, and sometimes I'll put butter on it, or salt and pepper. Who can't live without butter?
Actually, I try to. I use coconut oil myself, but there's that butter hidden in my fridge in the back. Yeah.
Coconut oil is very good.
So butter is not off limits, by the way, with this with your dietary traits. Okay.
But I'd have to say my favorite way to consume it is like what we have here in these glasses. Because quinoa has a lot of protein in it, I like to make a protein drink with it. So what I did was I took cooked quinoa, I put it into a Vitamix, and then depending on where the level is and how thick you like to drink it, I put apple juice in it to have a little bit of sweetener, and then I put some water in and cinnamon. And you do the cinnamon to whatever liking, however much you like cinnamon, and then you just blend it until it's smooth.
So this is quinoa, water, apple juice, and cinnamon.
That's it.
4 ingredients. Sounds very simple.
Very simple. And if you really want to get playful, you can put cacao in it, or you could put berries in it to give it a little more color. I mean, it's like rice. It's a blank palette, so you can do pretty much anything with it. And if you play with the quantity of liquid that goes in there as well, you could end up with something that flows rather smoothly like this, or something in the consistency of a pudding that you stand a spoon in and it will not fall over.
Interesting. And it sounds to me like, and if my guess is correct, that also would probably be something you could feed to, or something you could give to somebody who might be ill
who's
or convalescing, and they could, it's very digestible. I don't know.
It's also great when you're on the run and want something quick.
Yes, yes. Well, I know my mother always said, don't eat if you can't offer food to everybody. So I apologize to our audience that we can't offer it to you. You will just have to use your imagination and think about how wonderful this is. So Leslie, I want to try a little of this, especially since I'm parched.
Skål.
Cheers. Salute. Okay. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. I can see berries going in this as well, and maybe even a little bit of apple pulp.
If it's thick enough, you could also serve it like a soup, almost like a chilled cucumber soup.
Yes, that would be wonderful.
Decorate it with some herbs on top, a couple flowers.
I've never had it mixed before. Wonderful. Well, while we're oohing and eyeing here, and our apologies again to our studio audience, we're going to take a short break. We're going to present the community calendar, important events in New London in the area that you need to know about. So don't go away, because when we come right back, we're going to have Leslie and Mark take us on a little tour of some of the other wonderful goodies that they've brought us. So be right back.
this once, I'm looking at you, yeah. Good wishes and prayers have come true, and it's like spring in the summertime. It's the rain in a rainforest, and it's like spring in the summertime. It's the rain in a rainforest. Let me hold you close to my heart. Send it long distance, my love. This summer it's a rain in a rainforest. Send you my love in the summertime, like a rain in a rainforest. When you cry, tears from your heart rain down with my tears. Ooh. This one, when you cry, yeah, tears from our hearts keep raining on through. Isn't it like spring in the summer? It's like rain in a rainforest. Isn't it like spring in the summertime? It's a rain in a rainforest. Isn't it like spring in the summer? It's a rain in a rainforest. Or when spring turns to summer, rain in a rainforest. Isn't it like spring in the summertime? It's a rain in a rainforest. Or when spring turns to summer,
Oh, good.
Thanks.
I was going to ask you guys, are we? Am I babbling? Am I? I know it doesn't. It doesn't. There's not really a plan here.
Everybody's smiling. I like that.
Oh, good.
Quick, get the quinoa out of here too.
We're back.
I like this lady a lot. Oh, we are back. Thank you, Richard. Sorry, very much. Host goes off and boom. Okay. Well, we're back with Mark Roberts and Leslie Hammond talking about food as medicine, which sounds like kind of a stiff, formal title. We're talking about food and health and some of the wonderful things you can create that feel good and taste wonderful. And just as a little disclaimer, in case we need one, anything, whatever we talk about here, first of all, is just the opinion of the guests, and whoever says them, not the studio. And also, if you're thinking about any of this, especially health conditions of your own, please consult with a licensed professional nutritionist and your own physician. Keep everybody in the loop because you need all the help and support that you get. And just to let you know that, again, the studio is not responsible for the opinion of the guests, and sometimes the guests themselves are not either, in cases of insanity or demonic possession. Now, however, fortunately, we don't have to deal with demonic possession right now. We've got this wonderful food. Now, Leslie, we've been enjoying the quinoa shake, which, again, quinoa, water, apple juice, and cinnamon blended, and you could do all sorts of things with it. I've been eyeing, as quenching as that was, I've been eyeing this. Something about being in a studio with hot lights makes me very thirsty. What is this little glass of nectar all about?
I'm going to let Luke tell you about that.
Oh.
It's a very, very simple summer drink. It's basically called cucumber water. It's
Nice.
2 cucumbers, a lemon in a Vitamix with 4 pints of water. And I put a little stevia in to just sweeten it a little bit.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. So, say those ingredients again. We've got cucumber, 2 cucumbers,
a couple cucumbers, a lemon, all the juice of a lemon.
and but not the rind.
Correct.
Okay.
You just juice it over the Vitamix.
Okay.
Right. And of course you take the skin and the ends off the cucumber.
Right.
One time I didn't take the ends off, and
And
Leslie's first comment was, "You forgot to take the ends off, didn't you?"
so it would be noticeable.
And it was. It gave it a bit of a taste to it. You know? It's kind of, so yeah.
Okay, so cucumber, peeled, ends cut off, very important. Do you take the seeds out? Do you
No.
scoop the seeds out? Okay, so seeds are in there.
For both the lemon and the cucumber.
Oh. So the Vitamix, now I don't have a Vitamix at home. I have one of those champion juicers from 19, God knows when. Huge, roaring monster. Vitamix is a little more sleek, a little more streamlined, I think. If somebody at home doesn't have...
You could put wood in there if you wanted.
Well, yeah, but I mean in terms, yeah.
You would blend it.
Right. But if somebody doesn't have a juicer, if they don't have a Vitamix...
It'll work in a blender.
It will work in a blender.
Pick the seeds out, though.
Oh, okay. So if you're at home and you want to do this and you don't have the juicer, use the blender, take the seeds out. Okay. So it was the cucumber, the lemon, and you said water and a little stevia.
Yeah, or whatever sweetener you want.
Okay. Again, studio audience, I apologize for consuming in front of you. Imagine the goodness, and let's give this a little launch. Oh, nice.
Yeah, isn't it?
Oh, nice.
I love this. It's better than drinking a juice because it doesn't have, it's not quite calorie free, but it's very close.
It's very close. And I'm really
It's very refreshing, particularly chilled down. Now we're a little warmed up here.
Is, and there's the lemonade there, but it's not that sharp taste of lemonade, and the cucumber is there, but it's almost like the lemon is the top note, then the cucumber is the note that follows that. And how much stevia do you put in?
Oh, I think for the entire Vitamix this tall, I put in 1 tablespoon.
Oh, okay.
Not much.
Or you could use, if somebody doesn't have stevia, they could use I'd say maple syrup.
Oh, you could use
Probably,
agave
yeah, any sweetener. Oh, agave, that would be,
That would work well.
perfect too. That is just, I'm going to have another sip, guys. So, very sorry.
or honey. It doesn't take very much sweetener.
That is refreshing.
So
That's something I'm going to make at home, and if anybody in the audience makes it at home as well, give us a call, let us know. Also, just a little reminder, there's a telephone over here, kids. You can call us, 800-253-2285. Please, if you have a story to tell, something to share, comments, questions, be a part of the conversation. Back to you, Mark. So where did you find, is this something you created or made up?
No, found it online.
Okay.
Just modified it slightly, but
Okay.
I think it had me putting sugar or something in there, and I didn't really want to do that. So I just, other than substituting stevia.
Well, sugar, I mean, white sugar, we all know that it's problematic, and probably one of the worst things we can put in our body is processed white sugar. Now, you talked about stevia. Is that your primary sweetener, or is it one of an arsenal?
I don't use sweeteners much at all.
Okay.
I'd say my primary sweetener is probably fresh berries or frozen berries. So if something needs to be sweetened, I mean, that's what I got from Leslie. Leslie's. I put this will sweeten it up a little bit. Like she'll put in apple juice, I'll sweeten it up a little bit. So I'm not very good at that. I'm just still learning how to do that sort of thing. But it's so I don't directly sweeten very much.
Okay. And that's been part of is that something that is specific to you're wanting to reduce your blood sugar, or is that just part of the whole idea of eating healthier, that just comes along naturally with it?
Both.
Both. Well, breaking a sugar craving can be a really difficult thing to do. I've done it before. I'm not in that place at the moment.
Right.
But, I mean, it's a challenge. It's like no longer consuming caffeine. So there's or stopping wheat. You know, there's a period of withdrawal that the body goes through, which is never pleasant for the people that are around you, but it's good for you. Ultimately good for them too. But
hopefully not as bad as DTs, but still, yeah.
Been there, done that.
Don't want to do it again, I assume. And one of the tricky things about food too is you have to eat. And it's always there, and it's I know from my own experience, it's very easy to slip back into that.
Well, you have to plan, appropriately, and the better that one eats, the more planning it takes. With sprouting, depending on what you sprout, you need to plan anywhere from 2 to 5 days in advance for what it is that you want to use.
Right.
So.
It sounds difficult, but when I first started down this road, the current one I'm on like a year ago, was it you who told me, or somebody said, you're going to need to be going to the grocery store more frequently?
That was me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because that was once a week.
Right.
Go on the weekend, that's it, buy for the week. And I thought that would be really a pain.
Yeah.
And it's not, it's no big deal. I don't even think about it now.
And you're going more frequently because you're buying fresh food as opposed to the package that's going to sit.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was Leslie's big point was, I don't want to eat something that's 4 days old.
Right.
And it's like, right, what's the big deal? But then once you get in the habit of eating it fresher, it's like, oh yeah, you really don't want it anymore, really old.
Right.
But you can still eat it, it's still edible. But, and so I just don't think anything of it. I mean, so it's pretty easy for me to get by Fiddleheads. It's kind of on the way home from just about anywhere.
Just sort of drop by.
Yeah, and now that it's open every day, that makes that easier too. So we usually get stuck on Sundays, but it's no big deal. It's funny how what a shift, you know.
So when you shift your diet, there are other things in your life and other patterns and habits that
just fit it
as
into
well.
it. You just fit it into it, yeah. I mean, so now I buy groceries at least 3 times a week. I'd say I'm in the store 3, sometimes 4.
Speaking of groceries and speaking of fresh food,
I
don't even know where to start next. So maybe I should let you guys tell me where we're going to start next with some of these things.
All right, we'll start with this because it's not as sweet as the other items. And this was something I just decided to play with. The center of the roll-ups, and this has no particular name. A lot of times he'll ask me, what are you making? I don't know. It's food. That's
exactly,
my answer,
exactly.
Food.
Good answer.
So, there's shredded carrots, raisins, and a blood orange vinegar. That is to die.
Yes, it is.
It's so good. Oh my God.
And who's the guy who makes that? Where'd you get that? Mystic?
I picked it up in Mystic. There's a shop there called Extra Virgin where he infuses all of his own olive oils and all of his own vinegars. And there are things there that you can taste. It's exquisite. So I put probably, let's see, there's maybe a half a pound, no, 3/4 of a pound of carrots, and just shredded those up in a Cuisinart, and then threw in maybe a half, maybe a third a cup of raisins and a couple of tablespoons.
See the little end of that in there. Sort of looks like a Japanese. It sort of looks like when I go to a Thai restaurant in the spring rolls.
And one of the things that's great if you're trying to cut down on carbs is there's so many green leafy things that you can use in place of what might have been bread or a tortilla. And it's colorful and it tastes good, and the fact that you've got sweet things that are in there already, it makes it flavorful.
So Leslie, again, tell me what we've got. What kind of? Tell me again, because my memory is short. What kind of leaf we have on the outside here?
It's, collard,
is that kale?
It's collard green on the outside.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of times people are intimidated by collard greens because they might be a bit either astringent or tart.
Actually, I'm one of those people. My partner's from the South and like steamed collard greens.
Oh,
and,
I love.
I haven't been seduced yet. Maybe you can seduce me with this.
Perhaps. So collard green is the wrap on the outside, and then shredded carrots, raisins, and a little bit of the blood orange vinegar.
Blood orange vinegar. And again, you're speaking my language. I don't know if you guys saw the last time I was here on the show. in March and doing a little demo and carting all sorts of blood oranges here and squeezing them in and all season long. Just absolutely love them.
Don't you want one, huh?
Yes, I do.
Oh, that sounded lovely and domestic.
Well, didn't you see how quickly his hand went up when I said people that are resistant to collards? Couldn't shut up any faster.
Okay, okay. Since I'm also a resistant one to collards, let's see if this does for me.
The jury's still out.
This is not my bad face. This is my chewing face.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, I love the play of flavors in the inside. Absolutely love the blood orange. Again, I can see putting a little ginger in this. The collard, it's like, this is definitely better than all those steamed, soggy things. I've tried. It's good. It's good. I think this would be, this would also be fun with, probably with kale or chard.
Oh,
Just about any green. You could do it just about any
chard.
green if you're into mustard greens or whatever. But it's sweet, but it is sweet. It's sort of sweet, but not overly so. But you could make it. You could change the flavors. You could put cucumber in here.
Oh, sure, and you don't need to keep it to vegetables. You could also use it as a wrap for tuna fish or salmon. And if somebody really has a hard time getting over the hump of the flavor of the collards, you could spread the leaf with mustard or any, pretty much any kind of a condiment that you could think of, and then you just roll it up and you're done.
And speaking of the flavor of, I mean, it's rather neutral. The collard. I mean, it's not a mustard green. It's not one of these biting
It's not, right.
greens. So it's actually very similar to kale. I think. Or it can be, or just in terms of course, again, what I'm used to is the steamed stuff. It's very nice.
Oh, I love it that way too, or sautéed with lots and lots of garlic.
Oh,
You must saute it in coconut oil.
I haven't. I've done that.
Try it.
I've baked a chicken coated in coconut oil. Friends suggested that. You cut herbs and coconut oil and it came out quite nice. And no, it doesn't taste like coconut.
Well, when you saute in coconut oil, it adds this really subtle sweetness to it, and then just a hint of the coconut flavor. Oh, it's wonderful.
Okay. Yeah. I have done. I don't know. Actually, I haven't done anything. Have you ever done anything like the kale chips? Or would this work with collards? I was wondering.
I would think so.
Okay.
It's been on my list. I had a friend that made some a few years ago and turned me onto them, and they were just
They are very good. They really are.
It's a time thing, though. You need to make time.
It is a time
to
thing.
dehydrate them. So.
Oh, okay. I do mine in the oven. Okay. So anyway, so again, kids, this was collard and carrot, blood orange vinegar, and raisin. But you could do any number of things with it. I'm an egg salad fan. Myself, I can see putting that in there. Okay, so we've got that. So that could be an entree, or actually, if you put, you could put tofu tempeh, or like the egg salad or chicken salad, and make these really the main course.
Sure.
So, moving on to another. That's so cute. Okay. Were you one of those kids who got scolded? My mom, stop playing with your food, Mom. So. Who would like to describe? This is looking very breakfasty. Am I wrong?
It is. That's a breakfast.
Okay. Tell us about it.
It's hard to name it. It's I don't know what to name it. It's it's food.
And by the way, what I'd like to say is, looking at it on camera, just for our studio audience, it's not on our monitor. I'm seeing it looks a little grayish. It's not. It's more of a mauve with these lovely, with the pink raspberry in it.
That's the berries.
Okay.
It's mixed berries. It's mixed berries, yogurt, Greek yogurt, oatmeal, and then to perk it up a little bit, 3 tablespoons of hemp seeds, 3 tablespoons of chia seeds ground up.
Okay.
And the killer ingredient is cacao. Powdered cacao from the bulk section of Fiddleheads.
The raw unsweetened.
Right.
Yes. I've tried.
Not cocoa, cacao.
Okay.
But it gives it delightful little chocolatey taste to the raspberry fruit.
Now, Mark, or Leslie, for those for our viewers who don't know, what is cacao? What is the difference between that and cocoa, other than the switch of a couple of letters in the name?
No clue.
I believe it's
That's what you were supposed to say.
I think it's less processed, and it is not roasted, perhaps, because with a lot of schools of thought, when you talk about what's actually raw, it could be something that is heated up to no more than, some schools of thought are 108 degrees and some are 115. But it's as unprocessed as you can possibly get.
Right. So, did we have little plates or something we were going to try this? Now, one question mark I have. Maybe that's one of the seeds you're describing. I could swear I'm seeing a little bit of greenery in here. Or are my eyes deceiving me? Little green bits.
Oh, that would be the hemp seed.
Oh, okay.
That would be the
Which
hemp
shows my
seed.
ignorance of
I
hemp
was going to say,
seed.
because you can put sprouts in this as well.
Okay.
I just didn't tonight.
Okay.
Sometimes I do for breakfast. I eat this for breakfast quite a lot.
Okay. And and what is the grain in this again? It's oatmeal?
Yeah, it's rolled oats from the bulk section.
Right.
This is half of the recipe. So the recipe is half a cup of oatmeal, 1 package of Greek yogurt,
Okay.
3 tablespoons of hemp seeds, 3 tablespoons of chia seeds, 3 tablespoons of berries, whatever kind of berries you like. I use blueberries a lot.
Okay.
And
And does it
throw in
matter if
sprouts.
they're frozen or
No.
fresh, or whatever you can
That's
get?
one of the debates we have at Fiddleheads a lot, because frozen blueberries are frozen blueberries are picked right when they're ripe at the right time and flash frozen. So if you really want really good blueberries, get them frozen.
Well, what do you mean by when you just said the debate at Fiddleheads? What debate
versus
is there?
fresh. It's not debate.
Oh.
Maybe we keep going back. Which is better?
Okay.
I don't know. You like the idea of fresh blueberries also,
Right.
but they weren't picked next door, you know?
Right.
So they're shipped all the way across the country. So they're picked much earlier,
Right.
before their optimal point. Where the ones that you buy that are frozen are picked at the optimal point.
Okay.
So
So we're not losing. So if they're frozen correctly, you shouldn't be
you're
losing
gaining.
any. You're
Not only
gaining
you're not losing, you're gaining.
in terms of nutrition or in
Yeah.
terms of.
But we're used to thinking that frozen, it's never as good as fresh.
Right.
Well, I don't know. I do both.
Okay.
If blueberries are in season locally, I'll buy them fresh, and I like them fresh. But when they're shipped from Chile or something, it's, okay, I'll buy the frozen ones and go with that.
Well, that's nice.
Isn't it interesting?
That's very nice. Yes.
And it's only 1 tablespoon of cacao, so you don't over chocolatize the thing.
Okay.
But
I see what you're saying. It's barely. It's very barely there. I feel really rude eating on camera, so I should put that aside. Delicious. Okay. So we've got one other little treat here, and this looks like dates. I mean, I'll eat dates any old time. So, who would like to tell us what this is?
I made them, but it's Leslie's recipe.
Okay, well then, Leslie, you can tell us about it.
Very simple. Medjool dates. Pit them and take coconut butter and put them in the center. It's like an entourage.
That's it.
That's coconut butter?
That is coconut butter. They're absolutely divine. Take them to any party and you will be a hit.
Now, wait a minute. Coconut butter, you're not talking about the coconut oil like I have at home.
No,
No.
there's, and I
Like
meant to bring-
Artisana
I meant
coconut
to bring a
butter.
jar.
Yeah.
You see it everywhere?
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, so it's
You got to heat
definitely
it up to get it to move around a little if it's
Okay.
not warm enough
Okay.
day.
Okay, so definitely something separate from coconut oil. And
Right. Oh, yes.
can I use my fingers?
Yes. Yes.
Everybody know. Oh, here we go. Oh, this looks lovely. Thank you. And again, I feel so sorry for you guys at home not being able to enjoy this. So, to salve my conscience, we're going to be signing off for the evening. And unfortunately, our time has run out. So thank you very much, Mark and Leslie. This has been wonderful. I hope you'll come back again.
Thanks for having us. It's been a great
Yeah,
time.
it's been fun.
And join us next week when I'll be back.
Ooh, these are good. I love
sitting
these.
in for our regular hosts, and I shall have Carolyn Wilson and other guests to be announced on talking about natural healthcare products and facial care products you can make at home. So until then, thank you very, very much for joining us. I've had a great time, and I hope you've had too. So until we meet again, good night.